Hello and welcome to Washington Central Podcast. I'm Saurabh Shukla. Today we will talk about what's happening on the big ticket visit that President Trump is undertaking to China. What does this mean for the global geopolitics and also the war on Iran? This is the first time in 10 years that an American president will be in China for a summit meeting with Xi Jinping. And clearly, this is a very high-profile visit, if you ask me, in from the realm of geopolitics. One, this also has a direct bearing on the war on Iran because China has been supplying Iran weapons, also intelligence coordinates, and the US is well aware of the fact that the Chinese have a strategic stake because it was the Iranian oil that the Chinese were buying at a low cost, which got disrupted. So they have a shared interest in making sure that the Strait of Hormuz opens and Iran concurs to a deal that the US has offered. This is going to be one of the main stays of the visit, and my sense is one of the reasons why the negotiations broke off, or as President Trump described it, that it was on life support, was because the Chinese also wanted a role at the table. They wanted some kind of a deal. They realized very well that the US President Donald Trump is an astute deal maker. He wants and gets usually the best deal for his country, and he will require the Chinese leadership to make some concessions. Clearly, Iran is something that the Chinese may want to leverage it because Xi Jinping knows that the world wants this war to end, and President Trump also wants this war to end very soon. He has maintained the economic blockade, which is hurting not only Iran but countries in Asia as well, and obviously China is no exception. And post the U.S. action against Venezuela, which was the other primary supplier of the Chinese oil, China has got badly hurt. In fact, on the same night when U.S. President Donald Trump mounted that Venezuela operation, a special envoy of the Chinese president, Xi Jinping, was visiting Venezuela, Caracas, and had met Nicolas Maduro, the Venezuelan leader. So clearly, there was a message that the US and US President Donald Trump is sending out to Beijing that he is in control of global geopolitics. And even though he wants to make a deal, but he wants to do it on his own term. So that is going to be one of the biggest, I would say, takeaways. Beyond that, there is this AI race that US obviously is leading the AI race, but it also realizes that Chinese are seeking concessions from the US. They want companies like Nvidia to sell more chips, more advanced chips to China. President Trump has made some exceptions in the past, but it remains to be seen how much of a persuasion the Chinese leadership will have, or a sway will have on the American president to give away and agree to some more concessions. The third thing is that the Chinese companies also want access to the US market. The fact that President Trump has a high-level trade delegation, which has the top US CEOs accompanying him on this visit, also sends out the message that the US will want some kind of a reciprocal arrangement where there is market access for large US companies, be it Tesla, Meta, Google, Microsoft, Amazon. So all these companies would like some kind of a concessions from the Chinese leadership because there are restrictions on the American companies functioning in China, even Apple. So certainly this will be a major play. It will be more like a visit which will combine geopolitics and trade together. But it will also be a visit which will be watched globally because of the impact on global geopolitics, relationship with every country. How will this visit play out on China's ambitions in the Indo-Pacific? Because obviously US is a critical member of Quad. There is a summit meeting which is also scheduled, a foreign minister meeting of Quad, in which India is also a part of, is scheduled in New Delhi. And New Delhi realizes that China continues to pose a threat not only to its own strategic ambitions, but to the strategic ambitions for any country in the region. And Indo-Pacific countries are all united to take on China's hegemonic designs. Uh, President Trump realizes the fact that China will continue to be an adversary. That is part of the US national security doctrine. The US realizes that they can manage relationship with China. So this visit will be about that management. How do you manage a relationship? US will also want to make sure that they continue to lead the AI race, and they will convey to the Chinese leadership something maybe behind closed doors, that they take the national security threats very seriously. In the recent past, a lot of Chinese researchers have been caught in the US trying to steal uh, AI designs, trying to smuggle in some bioviruses. All that stuff will be raised by the US, sources are telling me. But the visit will also be about bonhomie, making sure that on the surface, things are right. President Trump likes pomp and fanfare. And my sense is that the Chinese will also provide all of that, because they know that they need the US to be an adversary which is also managed well, because that one of the reasons why the Chinese have been egging on, whether it was the war between India and Pakistan or the war against Iran, is to make sure that they get to win the AI race by getting other countries embroiled in long drawn wars. So that's has been their strategic positions. They have helped countries like Pakistan, which I'm going to talk about next, to make sure that they continue to uh, promote terrorism inside India, so that India is on the edge. And lately, since India has safeguarded its own national security by providing more funds for its own counterintelligence, making sure that the Indian Intelligence Bureau is strengthened, certainly the Chinese and the Pakistani operatives are in trouble in India. The other big story that we are going to talk about is Pakistan's double game, which has been exposed yet again. The fact that Pakistan, while claiming to be a neutral mediator between US and Iran, actually hosted Iranian aircraft, or he tried to hide Iranian aircraft on a strategic base of Noor Khan, which is in Rawalpindi, which is one of Pakistan's strategic nuclear base as well, where some of its nuclear assets are there. And this was completely treacherous, if you ask me, because on one hand, the Pakistani leadership assured President Trump that they are helping the US by getting a good deal from Iran. They continue to mislead the US leadership, and that is being recognized here in Washington, D.C. A lot of sources are saying that it's again a double game that has come to the fore, like Pakistan played earlier by hiding Osama bin Laden very close to the Pakistani military academy in Abbottabad. And they continuously told the US interlocutors that Osama bin Laden was not in Pakistan, but was hiding in Tora Bora in Afghanistan. So clearly, that is something which points to the Pakistani duplicity, the fact that the Pakistan wanted to extract a good deal out of the US, wanted to be on the right side, at the same time, continued to support the Iranian terror machine as well. As they have been doing, they have been running a virtual global supermarket of terrorism. And that's the reason why it's even of concern that the country has nuclear weapons, because in the recent past, what they've also done is to go around some of these Islamic countries trying to tell them that they are the custodians of an Islamic nuclear bomb and they are the ones who control it. So imagine if they can do this kind of a deal with Iran, what can they do if they continue to supply these nuclear components and weapons to some of the other Islamic countries? The world has to take notice on that. The IAEA also has to take stock of this, of what's going to happen and how they can stop Pakistan from proliferating any nuclear weapons. And also, in the view of this duplicity and the double game being exposed now by a renowned journalist, one of my colleagues, at CBS, who's a White House correspondent. So they got it out, and now it has been corroborated by many global news networks. So this is a clear case of concern, and I think President Trump and his advisors will take some action to make sure that this double game and duplicity of Pakistan is exposed yet again. On the geopolitical scenario, there are still concerns which are mounting. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asked in two separate addresses, it was in different contexts, in political rallies, but he has sent out a warning bell to make sure that Indians do not, go travel. They try to curb your foreign travel, try to buy less of gold, try to curb your fuel consumption. All this because he realizes that the crisis is not over. Even if a deal were to happen today, it will take months before the energy crisis can be tided over, and India is impacted badly. That's the reason why it's in the largest strategic interest that he has issued this warning, and I think we should uh, pay heed to this, because this is something which is written on the wall, that even if the war on Iran were to end today, economic aftershocks will keep on coming, because obviously the Strait of Hormuz disruption has disrupted not only the global energy supplies, but largely supplies to Asia, also the fertilizer supply. So all that has to be factored in, and the Prime Minister of India has issued a warning there. Uh, well, while I've been saying that the war in Iran must come to an end, and the world should see an early end to this war, but it's a game of chess on this global geopolitical board. And as I said earlier, President Trump's visit to China will also hinge heavily on this. We have to wait and watch what really happens around the contours of the visit, but this will have a major geopolitical impact on this global geopolitical chess drawing board. Thanks for watching and listening to this Washington Central podcast. Do follow us and share this podcast.